This is at Trustworthy Slav.
This is at Incognito, COH.
CRK Black.com build.
This is the Fed Post.
My mom is addicted to Facebook. She's like a boomer conservative on Facebook, and it's pretty embarrassing.
Does she share like content?
Oh yeah, she gave me a meme today that I posted on Twitter.
Hell
She
yeah.
sends me memes.
I was just gonna say the boomer conservatives do have some of the solid, like pure, sincere memes.
Mm-hmm.
It's less embarrassing than being like the. I'll say it.
My parents are the boomer libs, and it is like it is painful. I mean, it is painful. Like, okay, they moved into this neighborhood recently, and they like have got all those like first like we're like a painfully, I'm sorry, not white, we're Italian, but fucking it's like an all white neighborhood, like all these like bougie ass whatever. My mom's got her like Black Lives Matter, like in this house, like, we believe science.
In this house, based nice.
She got bumper stickers that say "Get vaxxed, dead is dead."
No.
Oh, what?
Nice.
No.
That's incredible.
That's worst case scenario.
Well, that's the thing. Is that over the last couple of years, libs have kind of tried to, in certain little ways, adopt the affect of Trump a little bit, and so like dead is dead, or like some of the kind of like pithy glib things that like
we got the greatest vaccines, folks, the best vaccines.
Yeah, dude, obviously like Michael Avenatti was kind of like the failed attempt, but they kind of ended up having a couple like little irreverent ticks, and dead is dead is absolutely
I've never heard that.
I haven't heard
shit.
that one yet.
Yeah, that's a first for me.
It's really awesome. I'll send y'all a picture later. So like,
My family's the opposite. Like my uncle showed up to Thanksgiving wearing a "Let's Go Brandon" t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
that's my grandpa. My grandpa like will get drunk and like whenever he comes to visit, like they'll start drinking. My mom will start drinking real early because he's just like polar opposite from her. Like she's like would have voted for Obama for a third term if she could have, you know what I mean? And then he's like Obama truther, like thinks he's like an Kenyan Muslim, but like last time he came over, he started like Holocaust truthing, and my mom was like, "You need to leave now. You need to leave." You should
link him to our podcast.
Yo, link him to the Fed board.
Your uncle is just Ren.
Oh God, he grew his hair, and I told him he looked like Caitlyn Jenner, and he didn't like that.
You bring
My
that up
parents
at
are pretty
Thanksgiving?
like apolitical ultimately, which is pretty nice for me. They know that none of this shit's really for them, so they try to keep their head down.
They're
that's
pretty religious, right?
Yeah, they're pretty like devout Christians, and they're just trying to mind their business, tithe on Sundays, and just kind of get through it, you know.
I can take that.
Sweet.
That's base.
Yeah, I respect
like
it. I don't think I used to respect it when I was younger. I was like, what the fuck? Everything's fucked. And they were like, yeah. Just try to find something that's not fucked. And I was like, no, but we could change it. And then now I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's some wisdom in that.
And then COVID
Absolutely.
happened. And that's like the most reasonable take possible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. It was interesting with my grandma. She was really COVID paranoid at the beginning, and then my mom, she got sick, and my mom moved in with her, and they kind of red pilled her, and now she's like, I hate Biden.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really great.
I wish I knew how to do that to like my parents. They've got like a shrine. I don't want to say shrine, but I don't know another word for it. But it's just like Obama and like Hillary Clinton and like
do they have the
Joe
candles?
Biden?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yes, they have the candles.
Wow.
No.
Like the
So
Ruth
many
Bader
candles.
Ginsburg candles.
Yes. Oh my God. Just all of it. All of it. If there's like any politician that's like suspicious and definitely a pedophile, she has a candle of them.
Trying to prey on them, hoping they change their ways.
But I think the weirdest part about that like particular brand of liberal, right, is that she has all this like Trump stuff too. But it's like fuck Trump, for like baby Trump flag, or she was decorating for Halloween, so she made like baby Trump like pumpkin, like jack-o'-lanterns and shit. And it's like, why are you like? I don't understand. Like you're still clinging on to whatever, I don't know, like this like Like, he's not in office anymore. Get over it.
Yeah.
He can't even tweet anymore. What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly. God, I miss him on Twitter.
Yeah.
What, that time I was off Twitter, it was like, it was kind of nice because it was like, I'm really not missing much, you know? Old Donnie's not on there anymore. And like, really anything worth
That's kind
seeing.
of what I'm saying right now.
He's kind of the life of the party.
Hoops, how many times have you been suspended at this point?
It's almost not even worth thinking about or counting. You know, I lost count, you know, after like 3, and I'm on my way there again, I'm sure. Do what? Was it 4?
What's it for, though? Like, what, you threatening someone, or?
I mean, usually like
calling
the
people
bad word
retards.
or like the retard word. Yeah, exactly.
Just a little bit of targeted harassment, you know, no problem.
Yeah, or like threatening violence. Listen, community standards on threatening violence were like made to be broken. I'm done.
Yeah, you're not living if you're not like on here about to like rip someone's head off. That's kind of how people drive, you know? It's like you can either be someone that drives in the road and every time someone cuts in front of you, you're like, God damn it, get fucked. Or you can be someone that's just kind of floating through life. And I feel like Twitter's kind of the same way. You can either see something that just like frustrates you.
Yeah. So I'm a bad driver. And
so
also
I guess
bad
you're
on
always
Twitter.
that. Yeah.
As somebody who definitely gets road rage, I gotta say, in that way, I think being off Twitter has been very good for me.
Right. I can see that.
I think I get enough of that rage already, and I don't think that I'm really like an angry person.
You're a rage guy, SLAV?
I am a little bit of a rage guy. Well, I guess the fact that I just said I'm not an angry person, I think,
and then you followed up with "I'm a little bit of a rage guy."
Yeah, that's the biggest tell is that it's like I'm trying to deny it, but yeah, no, man. I mean, like, well, I was just talking to Lilith a little bit ago, saying, you know, I popped in to check the feed earlier today, just about some like vaccine stuff, right? Some like the latest in COVID psyops. And like, it's just like, you know, just a couple minutes in, you see like just the fucking hen house clucking away. And like, it's, you know, I feel it, you know, bubbling up a little bit inside me. It's not good. But there's enough to be upset about without that fucking bullshit.
I realized that I have like, you know, I've reluctantly admitted it to myself recently after doing some soul searching that I've kind of let anger get the better of me a little bit recently. And I'm trying to not let that shape my life, you know, and not let it harden me into a more cynical person.
Sure.
And I think Twitter has a big hand in just like continuing that hardening process and that just like making you cynical, or because like nothing's really great on there, you know, it's just people either joking about some bad shit, amplifying some other bad shit. And then you get a whole bunch of news, but then you get some people that are just irreverently like trying to get through it. And that's usually a good soft, sweet spot. But like, otherwise you're just kind of getting inundated with just endless waves of like stuff that they know is going to trigger you because they made the algorithm to show you that specifically. Right. And it's just kind of like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. It's like go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say like the fish Twitter. I had to like unfollow and block everyone when I was doing fish Twitter. Those people are insufferable. Everything is like every like molehill becomes a mountain, right? You make like a small joke and you're like crucified. Like I had people try to, this one chick on fish Twitter, I don't remember. I think I might have said retard or something like that, or it doesn't matter. That's besides the point. But she found my Facebook profile and then like tried to get me fired from a job that I didn't even work at anymore.
Like, yeah, she's been gone.
Yeah, and then it happened again. I like made a fat joke or something, and some random person found the restaurant I worked at and like emailed the owner.
For real?
Yeah. And the next day at work, I was walking up the stairs and the owner was in there and he was like, "Hey, Hoops." And I'm like, "What?"
You're like, "Shit, no."
Oh, yeah. Yo, if someone in my office was like, "Yo, hey, CRK," I'd be like, "What the fuck?" Right? Hey, Class Redux Killer, what the fuck?
How did they find who you were, though? Like, do you actually have it tied to
So I figured it out.
Name?
I dug through my entire Twitter later, like after I found that out, to like figure out what had happened. I had posted a picture of like a note I had gotten on a receipt, and I didn't crop out like the restaurant name.
It's crazy trying to call just a fucking like just calling a restaurant worker and trying to get them fired. Like your opinions have no say on anyone's life. It's not like you're like calling like about an HR worker being racist or something, I can understand kind of like the thought process. You're like, well, maybe I'm trying to help out this workplace so that their hiring department's not racist.
Yeah.
Or something
Famously,
crazy.
people that try to help out workplaces, HR department.
Yeah. Sure. But what I'm saying is, like, who do you think you are calling a restaurant to just get like a server or like a bartender or a host or something fired? Like, what does that? What does that have to do with their opinions on Twitter or calling someone fat? They're not a politician.
You get secondhand
Jugs was
racism.
on, and Jugs was like, "Who gives a shit? Like, you're not gonna like if it's like a job that's not an office lib job. Like, what's gonna happen? Nothing. Like, it'll be fine." So it's good to know that he didn't do anything. That's good.
I've had people call for like finding out where I work several times on Twitter. And honestly, that's the only times I really get upset is when I'm getting dogpiled on and people are like, where does she live? And, you know, where does she work at? And I'm like, this would be the worst because everybody at work I don't talk about politics at all. They just think I'm a normie lib. And it would be really bad news if they found my Twitter.
Yeah, and I'm brave for showing face.
I have to push back a little bit, which is just like, it's not just professional class positions. Like, I have a buddy whose girlfriend, it literally like a normie lib, just like had kind of an irreverent meme on some fucking Instagram account that they had up. And, you know, some like food service job, you know, did some probing into their social media and like, you know, they were applying to this job and they like denied them the position because they found some offensive meme on their social media.
That's
so like
amazing too.
I mean, like it isn't just like, you know, for like fake email work jobs. It's like it can affect anybody. I think it has just a lot more to do with like, you know, the area you're in, you know, like you know, the ideological difference between, you know, like in Seattle, the people that, you know, work at like tech companies and then the people that like make their coffee. It's like, it's pretty uniform. They have the same worldviews for the most part.
Well, it's interesting though, because the left will say, you know, cancel culture doesn't even exist, but I'm just a restaurant worker and I could lose my job in an instant if somebody found out where I worked. You know, I piss off a lot of people online. So
I don't get why they say that because they literally in the next breath will be asking for someone's employer. So I literally don't know what that line was. I never figured out what that meant. But like the pilot that said, "Let's go, Brandon," they were trying to get him fired. Right. But you know, it's like that thing on our Twitter. I was like, you know, no one fires you for having like too left of an opinion. It's only if like, let's go, Brandon isn't even that far right. That's like Normicon. And like, you know, they want his head for that or whatever. Like, it's...
well, the funniest part is that when they go, is the response to that is to go like, these people were fired for trying to unionize. And I love the idea that unionization is like fundamentally just like it's like making a political statement entirely. Like you can't be like a Republican that would ever do that or like I
got fired for that. My last job before COVID, I got fired.
And it's not a political sentiment that's getting you fired. It's a tangible thing.
Material thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you're like attacking your boss. Like, yeah, exactly. Of course.
Exactly. There's no ideological discipline going on there. Like, they just don't want to get fucked.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's not something you say, right? That's not like I meant when I said that I meant like as an opinion, like, and it's weird, like Lee Carter and all these blue checks quote tweeted. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. It's like it's not an opinion. It's like a thing you're doing. It's not a tangible thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's literally something you say, like you say, "Let's go, Brandon." Like that's just a thing. That's just some words. Like that's the crazy thing is getting fired for words or like face stalked or stalked for like just saying things, just from memes or whatever. Like it's fucking crazy. Like
I mean, it's like really funny. It's like imagine caring if like the guy serving you food at a restaurant has like an opinion on like IQ distribution across races or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like imagine thinking that that's at all relevant to anything.
Well, I think they care a lot about COVID, in your opinion, on vaccines. So a lot of when people have been saying, where does she work at? They're saying that because I'm not vaccinated. Right. And then I pose a risk, a public health risk, you know.
You're putting people in danger.
The COVID vax stuff has really replaced a lot of the racism woke stuff
know what?
in a way. Not replaced it fully, but it's similar.
People should be afraid of me, not because I'm unvaccinated, but just because like I'm a mess and like mean sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you should be afraid of me, but like you're afraid for like the wrong reasons entirely. It really pisses me off.
Well, it's good that your boss didn't live out on you. That's that could have happened, I guess.
My tweets are funny.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
That's so crazy. Yeah, if I had mentioned anything that I post on my Twitter at work, I would be fired in a hot second.
Oh, yeah.
Like my manager, when the Biden vax mandates came down, he was like, all right, if you don't want to get COVID or if you don't want to get the vaccine, then die. And I just had to sit there and like
Did he
nod
say that
along.
to you pointedly?
Yes.
Oh,
well, he didn't say it like because he doesn't know that I'm not vaxxed.
Okay.
So he just said it in a general way. But if I had said something opposing the vax mandate, I would get fired.
Right.
You're not a good fit here.
My manager knows I'm not vaxxed, but my other coworkers don't know I'm not vaxxed because they're like fucking crazy about it, talking about it every day. And the only reason my manager knows is because we were supposed to go do something with like a federal office or something, and I wasn't able to go in since I didn't have a vaccination.
COH is the Fed confirmed.
Yeah, essentially. But I was supposed to be doing something like a government office or whatever as a part of my my job was going there to work with them for a second. And what essentially happened was like, yeah, you can't go in there because you don't have a vax card. And so I had to stay back while everyone else went and did their job. And essentially, now he knows I'm not vaccinated. It's been no problem, really. They haven't really said anything about it. But if my coworkers found out, I would be pretty ostracized pretty quickly. And that's a whole other thing. Like social pressure from it is also a real thing beyond just being fired or not.
Whenever people ask me why I'm not vaccinated, I'm just like, I heard it turns you gay, and then people usually don't want to talk to me anymore, and they won't ask any more questions.
You say, "Oh, you talking about the fag scene?"
So you're just open about it. You just tell people hoofs.
Like a lot of people around here aren't vaccinated. It's like, and most people like don't really give a shit for the most part. It's only going to be like super, super right wing. You have to remember, like I'm in Alabama. Like roll tide.
That sounds nice, to be honest.
I'm like one of the only people. I'm like one of the only people I know who's not vaxxed here in the city.
Damn,
that's insane.
And yeah.
Like
I know a lot of other unvaxxed people, but I just don't work with them, unfortunately.
Do y'all
Why would you want to?
Do y'all have to like have your like a lot of places are doing like vax cards or whatever? I've only ever had to do one, like show one once, and I just use like a little like fake one on my phone or whatever. But like where y'all are, do y'all have to like show shit most places like to get into bars or restaurants?
Literally
like, what's that
every
like?
bar, every restaurant in New York City. Literally every single one. Well, everyone that's like yeah, they check. I mean, they don't check hard. They don't really like glance at it. I mean, my girl uses a fake one, and like they just kind of glance at it and like I mean, she used like because I got the real one, so she just kind of like used that and just kind of like took the lot number and all that. Like her job wants her to get it. They're like announcing mandates soon, so she's kind of in a tough spot. And she told her coworkers, like they all know. They're like chill about it, but some of them aren't vaxxed.
Is she gonna?
I mean, you can make a.
She wants to try to get religious exemptions. She's gonna like try to hold out.
You can make a pretty convincing card, though.
She did. But... She did. I mean, she like no, but everywhere in New York, literally every fucking place, you have to show. It's like now when they ask for your ID, that's what they ask for. They ask for vaccine ID everywhere.
That's so.
Do they have a digital system?
They do, but it's not required. Excelsior, that's a New York one.
I had a guy try to hand me his I don't know where he was from. He had an accent. I was working the door at a bar the other night, and a guy tried to hand me his vax card. He's like, I don't have my ID. I was like, well, I don't know how you thought you were going to get into a bar, but I can't take a fucking vaccine card.
Like get fucked, dude.
What?
Actually, you're barred from here. You can never come
here. Yeah, just leave and don't come back, actually.
We don't like your kind around here.
Exactly.
Got one of them vaxxed.
Yeah, the COVID vaccine is actually taking a shot of whatever's left in the dirty bar mats.
There it is.
Oh, God.
So this is crazy. My manager today was telling me that we're going to not do our holiday party because they're thinking that the Omicron cases are going to surge.
But y'all still have to work?
Yeah, we still have to work. It's packed out. Like last night, there was no standing room in the place and nobody's wearing masks, but we're canceling our holiday party.
Man, that's retarded.
I love it.
Just, you know what? Just be like, call them out. Be like, just be honest with us. Like, this was like a really easy way for y'all to like not spend any more money on us. Like, just say that.
No, she's really paranoid.
Is
she's super paranoid about Omicron, or about any of the variants. She's been very COVID aware. She put out, as soon as they announced the vax mandate, she put up these announcements saying, you got to have your vax card by December 22nd. And then they put one up in Spanish too, because the whole back of the house is illegal immigrants. So they're like, green card, we don't need it. Vax card, you need it by December 22nd.
Amazing.
That's unreal. Yeah, this Omicron shit is bullshit, man. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Sounds fake and
I
gay.
remember I opened my news app yesterday on my phone, and I see like 4 articles that are like, Omicron case could bring hospitalizations in the United States to a record surge. And then Fauci's on the news talking about there could be record deaths this winter. There could be like 500,000 cases a day or some crazy shit.
I saw some headline where it's like everyone in the South is going to be dead. Everyone is
literally,
dead.
dude. They're saying the most. Like,
I made a shit post like that like a month ago. Everyone in the South is dead now.
Well, the White House put out a statement today, and it said, we are intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work in school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, in the hospitals you may soon overwhelm.
Fucking what?
That was the statement that got me to check.
Man, that's dark.
I thought that was like
It's a dark winter,
someone
Jack.
that was like joking. I can't believe that's that sounds like something out of like a movie and like a Hunger Games type movie. You know what I mean?
No, for real.
It's like, so you know what I just don't get, like they hate you people. They hate people that are unvaxxed, right? Like I'm in New York, like I'm in these bars.
This is your case talking about they hate you people. You're safely on the other side of that, you son of a bitch.
Children of Yakub.
Yeah, I call myself, they hate you fucking filthy degenerates. No, but in New York, like, I got to show this card everywhere to get in anywhere in fucking New York or whatever. But like, it's packed as shit. Like I'm in some club last night, it's just packed as shit. And everybody's just like, well, we're vaxxed, so everything's okay. And we're like good libs, everything's fine. And they're just like, they have this attitude of literally everybody else, of basically you guys as being just like dumb morons that are going to die. But this is the thing I don't get is like, if they hate these people. So like, what do you care if they die? That's what I don't get. Like what? Every day they talk about like how much they hate them.
They're trying to manifest
Let
it,
them
bro.
die.
They're trying to manifest that shit.
Well,
they're speaking it through with intention, and they're trying to put words to it, and they're trying to make it happen.
To be the voice of reason, it's about infrastructural strain, like what the narrative was in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, but they had their chance to raise hospital capacity. They had the funding to do it, and they never did.
In fact, they actually laid off nurses, and then they laid off a swath of people that wouldn't get vaccinated or that wouldn't get their second booster, and it's now going to be if they won't get their third booster. So they're literally cutting hospital staffing. They're cutting the amount of beds, and then they're bitching about, we're going to be full. Motherfucker, I don't care. How about you increase capacity, dude? Like you could have done all fucking year. What happened to like talking about we're going to need to build hospitals and build this and that? They didn't do any of that shit.
But they don't profit. They don't profit unless they're at full capacity. If they have all of these empty beds, then they're not going to make the money that they want to make.
Oh, right.
I mean, obviously then though, like the response then, becomes like, well, yeah, like that's also bad, but walking and chewing gum at the same time, like it's still going to save lives in this bad situation if you're vaccinated. You're not, blah, 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 and then around and around it goes. So I mean, like the response you guys have is like the correct one, but it doesn't actually negate the argument.
No, none of this shit matters to them, even if it does negate their fucking argument, bro. Like, literally, I'm talking about those headlines I just saw. The next headline that I saw when I was looking at Omicron cases and deaths showed that in South Africa, as of this morning, the headline was, quote, hospitalizations plunge among Omicron outbreak in South Africa. So they're sitting there admitting, oh yeah, like hospitalizations are going way fucking down with this variant. It's not severe. It's a mild variant. And South Africa's the place that it originated. So it's like the South African variant. And they're telling us all this shit. They're saying, oh yeah, it's actually going to be way less hospitalizations. But then you look at the Washington Post and they're talking about this could be the grimmest winter yet. This could be the most hospitalizations ever. It doesn't fucking matter what.
I don't know. I keep hearing stuff that it's like they admit that it's mild and they admit that it's like, I don't know. None of I'm really like, I'm checked out. I'm checked out like for all the news.
It's particularly contradictory these days because I think honestly a big part of it is also just because like they've just thrown so many different angles at the narrative at it at this point that it's like
Kitchen
it's
sink.
like every time there's an update to the narrative, there needs to be like 7 different angles. You know what I mean? And like they all kind of contradict each other, and it's very weird.
They're throwing shit at the wall. They're saying it was 6, but it's working in New York. There's people lining up for fucking there's lines around the block for fucking rapid testing vans and shit.
Oh, of course.
Well, I saw something today where they were talking about the cases that were going on in New York, and I was looking at the replies, and everyone's just like, when are we going to expand testing? When are we going to shut down schools? When are we going to do work from home? And like people are just begging for it again.
Yeah, they want it. They want the fucking. I've seen some leftists ask for lockdowns. Lock me down, daddy. They're saying that type of shit on the timeline. Fucking sickos, man.
Did you guys see that bill that they're going to be voting on in New York where they're going to detain cases, contacts, and carriers of anybody presenting a significant health threat to public health?
Detain what now?
Cases, contacts, and carriers of anyone suspected of presenting a significant threat to public health. It's
detain them where?
In New York.
Yeah, but in what type of facilities?
I guess they're going to build facilities.
Or like in my house, or...
I'm recording from one right now.
I'm imagining Australia-style camps.
Holy shit, dude.
Oh, so there's going to be a bunch of cool, hot influencer babes, right?
It's like the TikTok house.
Right. Oh, here I am at the camp, and I'm posing with the bikini. This sounds great to me.
It's great. I'm there now. Come join me.
Yeah. No,
re-education camps. That's where I'm going to meet my husband. He's at one of these COVID camps.
Yeah, you'll finally meet Ren in person there.
It's going to be the only fertile people left in the goddamn country, so it's a good place to start looking.
I went to the super spreader camp and nobody knew you.
It was the Biden statement and that got me to check out the timeline today. And I don't know. The Biden statement actually like is a little bit comforting to me because like as long as he's not saying any. Well, hear me out here. As long as he's not saying anything like tangible, where he's like, all right, I'm proposing we're going to do this, then I'm happy, right? If it's just him doomsaying and just being like, oh boy, you guys are going to fucking die. It's like, well, I know
he's doomer-pilled.
Yeah, like I know I'm not going to fucking die. So like, whatever. As long as he's not being like, quantifiable, like, starting on this date, we're going to start raping everyone that's unvaccinated. You know what I mean? Like if he's just out there demagoguing, like whatever, it doesn't work on me. But and then as far as like the New York detainment thing goes, as far as I understand it, it's like something going through the political process. So it's not a sure thing yet.
Yeah, but it's in motion, bro.
Yeah,
Come on. Once they start putting some of that shit out there.
Saying, my take on it is contact. I'll eat crow on the show. When something actually tangibly happens with this story, there have been so many fucking reports over the last 2 years of things just like this that end up becoming nothing. And so except in
Australia.
Yeah, bro. Except for where it doesn't.
Yes, but we're not Australia.
Yeah, the court systems have been shutting down a lot of the mandates. Like the only mandate that I've seen actually go through the court system is the one for the healthcare workers in New York. The rest of them have all been shut down. So
yeah, but then they revive them. Like here's an article from just yesterday. Court reinstates Biden COVID vaccine mandate for large companies. Like some small circuit court knocks it down, and then they're like, oh, actually, big boy's coming through here. Nope, we're putting that back on. And it's after people wave their little flag of woo, the court saved it for us. We're good. Actually, they kind of forget about it for a second. Then they're like, oh, actually, no, a higher court's saying that's actually fine.
Yes, the courts aren't fucking real. The judicial system is a fucking joke. Things get overturned all the time. The Supreme Court, Amy Cohen or whatever the fuck her name is.
Comey Barrett.
Yeah, whatever the fucker. And Thomas Clarence, some other right-wing guys. I think Kavanaugh, too. They voted to uphold the vax mandates in New York. So all this shit is all like, it's all I don't want to say it's locked in, but it's all subject to change. I mean, we'll see how it goes. It is all subject
to change, and that's what. And I think that. But the thing is that cuts both ways. And of course, if somebody's talking about indefinite detainment in New York in government facilities, I'm sorry, guys. Come and talk to me about this, like when there's an actual meaningful update, because like.
I feel you. I mean, like, as far as long-term stuff, I mean, like, I think they're going to lock down again this winter. We'll see if I'm wrong. I thought it would happen by now. It hasn't happened yet, so maybe I'll be wrong about that.
Omicron this weekend. I'm hearing people that I don't even know that have never been to New York talking about, bro, I'm worried about New York cases. Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't know no one up there. You've never been there. But they're reading shit talking about, there's more Omicron cases in New York than ever. I just saw an article just now because I was looking at it that said that New York City fears shutdown amid rising Omicron cases. So they're talking about it again. And now it's like the excuse.
Damn, that's fucking wild. They need to start. I'm sure the cases will start going down once they start vaccinating people in New York, right?
Yeah, they just don't have a good enough percentage up there. You bump those numbers up, bro. Those are rookie numbers.
Oh shit!
Once people stop faking their vax cards at the club,
it's as easy as that. It's as easy as that, folks.
Yeah, you need to institute a digital system, bro. Crack down on those fakes. That's what they need to do.
Well, did you see that bill that went through? The infrastructure bill. 80 Republicans voted yes, where they're saying they want a federal database for vaccines.
Wait, that's in the infrastructure bill?
It's like a bill that just went through. It's an infrastructure bill because the database would be infrastructure, right?
Holy shit, yeah. That's how they get away with passing all this evil shit. They're like, hey, everyone likes infrastructure, right? Well, this is not the kind that you want, but we're going to call it infrastructure. We're just going to put it right through.
No, this entire Build Back Better bill is just like the most deeply satanic. I'm like, at this point, I should be praying every night that Joe Manchin is like of sound health and like doing very well, like not pissing off any Clintons in any meaningful way, writing up suicide notes, you know.
Posting about how much he loves life.
Exactly.
Well,
Joe Manchin ain't going away.
Hopefully the lockdowns don't happen. Hopefully I'll be wrong about that. But the Pfizer CEO is talking about vaccines till 2024. Mm-hmm. He said that. So, I mean, last time was it like 2022 was like the end date? I guess they hit that term, so they extended the lease or whatever.
Yeah, they're going like Fibonacci sequence exponential on this shit. They're going like, all right, 1 + 1, 2 more years. All right, 4 more years.
I'm not concerned though. I'm not concerned at all until they do a digital database. I'm not concerned.
Like in Israel.
Right.
I've
been seeing calls for it. I saw an article that was bitching about Kyrie Irving, and it was talking about, him and other NBA players apparently have been showing fake vax cards at different clubs or something.
Oh,
and so, yeah, exactly. Awesome. I'm like, hell yeah. But then they're like, this dude's like, the audacity of these players to do that, blah, 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 blah. They need to institute a digital vaccine database in the whole country so that we can eliminate this kind of things. Because until we do that...
Lib's talking about, hey, why don't you just shut up and stop getting political and play the fucking game?
Right. So I've seen like talks about, because the bill that just went through is for a federal vaccine database, but there's not like a digital system where you have some sort of QR code on your phone that you have to show everywhere. But I've seen articles where they're writing about different software companies working on these and working with the state to be able to do these kind of like, what was that one you were talking about, CRK?
The chip?
It's Excelsior or some shit.
Excelsior. But do you guys see the fucking chip? The microchip?
Oh, yeah. Mark of the Beast going on there.
Evil.
The Mark of the Beast, literally.
So there's this like RFID chip that they're putting in people's hands that they're linking up to Vax Passport. So it's like different information that you can put inside of an RFID chip that could be scanned.
It's real. You should watch it. It's real.
You should get one.
Yeah, it's like the shit you put in your dog, like how you scan the chip in your dog for medical information.
Yeah,
they're doing that for human beings now.
Right, and so your Vax card is going to be hooked up to that.
You think I can get my like car key inserted?
So my car key into my palm so I never lose it.
Well, people are doing that. Like, didn't Bill Gates have it in his whole home? Like everybody who was associated or lived in his home had an RFID chip so that they could get in and out of the residence.
What the hell?
It's for women. It's for women who keep losing their phone and their keys. It's a woman invention.
But I kept losing my tile too.
No, the Swedes apparently have been doing this since 2019, though. They've been doing it, but not for the vax. They've been doing it for like IDing. But yeah, I mean, Alex Jones is right. You know,
it's almost like this has been a long time coming and a deeply coordinated plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
I mean, how long have they been talking about Bill Gates chipping people?
Forever. How long has he been spouting out at the mouth talking about some bullshit pandemic that we got to be ready for? He's been talking about that shit since like 2011, 2014, repeatedly. He's still talking about it. Now he's talking about, in 4 years from now, there's going to be an even worse one. It's going to be like AIDS, Ebola, bath salt smoking zombies. And you're like, what?
The most schizo thing I posted last year was like I posted some video of Gates talking on Vox in 2015 about like, yeah, we're not prepared for another Spanish flu or whatever. And I just posted and was like, yo, he's part of this shit. He's fucking part, it got like no faves or whatever.
Of course he
and
is.
Like
this
people
dude,
making, I mean, I don't know. It's suspicious.
a man who has been funding Moderna since 2016 on a 4-year contract that's worth $39 billion to renew for 10 years in 2020 if they put a viable product to market. You're telling me that this man who also has been warning people about this type of pandemic, and then you're telling me the same man who controls all the tech stuff that we're going to be using nonstop now because we're locked in our house, and the same man who also happens to run COVAX, which is a global vaccine effort, so that he can launder even more money from this type of bullshit, has nothing to do with this at all. And just, this just happened to come up out, and he's just a lucky investor. I don't fucking
the
think
COH.
I was like a lot of like. Oh, go ahead, Lilith.
No, you're fine. What are you saying?
It's just like a lot of these people on the left who like want you to like get vaccinated or think that like a lot of this should be like mandatory, right? And they're like the same people that are like, they'll say something about like big pharma being bad or like I like kill all billionaires or whatever, and then every time you point out like the economic impact of the pandemic, right, or like who's benefited from it or whatever, they're just like, okay, well, you need to think about other people. Or when they deflect, it becomes they deflect, and it becomes like some like moral thing where it's like, well, I'm doing this because I care about you and I care about other people, right? Like, stay home to
I love the argument. I loved the argument of like liquidating the small business class was good because it's going to make it so that the communist revolution is easier. Now that in order to make the revolution possible, we need to consolidate wealth at the top so that it's easier to access.
That was an amazing. I'll still never get over seeing that.
I'm so happy I missed that. I love that. I feel like I miss a lot of these really like brain dead takes because I don't know if I was like in a bad enough mood and I saw something like that. I think it might be like my 13th reason.
That shit would put me over the edge for real. It almost does on a daily basis. That's what I'm saying. I've been trying to like put my shit back on the right path. I've been letting anger take a hold of me seeing this shit. It's frustrating.
I don't get angry anymore. I just get like a sense of doom and sadness.
I had that for a while. Then I moved on to anger because I was like, I internalized it for a while. And now I'm trying to reach a point of zen of just kind of trying to ignore it to a degree, except for what I can affect. Trying to do that 12-step shit of just doing, having the strength to change the things that I can and the faith to, get through the things that I can't really.
That's where I'm kind of at.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know the rest of that.
I'm drunk right now. I don't remember the rest.
I'm not drunk like that.
Holy bunch of serenity prayer. So,
I get the gist of it.
Well, it's like, are you going to look at it from an individual basis of like, how am I going to live my own life? Or are you going to sit there and get mad at everything that's going on that you have no effect of? No, you can't change any of this. This is all going to happen whether you're pissed off about it or not. So
separate the two, partition the two. Get your personal life in order.
Clean
Should
your
have
room,
nothing to do with
bucko.
politics. Yeah, clean your fucking room, and still care about the politics shit, but keep that shit separate. Put a fucking wall between that shit. That's what I think for sure. But it's easy for people to make that shit.
So I can criticize whatever I want.
I feel like
Your room is clean.
Yeah, my house is spotless.
Mine's not, but I've been working on it clean too. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't feel the sense of dread much like lately. Because I mean, it is like the Matrix thing of like, you just like look at it and you kind of just see the patterns in the code, right? Whatever.
Schizo pilled, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I got my finger on the
see the
pulse
green
and I'm
lines?
good now, dude.
Yeah, I see
Dude,
the
I'm
code
like-
falling.
guys, I'm recording this episode like in lotus position right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Sunglasses on.
practicing
And a
my
trench
electric.
coat.
I'm practicing my theremin playing skills.
That's
And,
actually super based.
It's incredibly based, dude. This is coming at you live 100 feet below the ground in my bunker. No, but you just like it's try hard, dude. Like I'm not saying that this shit isn't going to tangibly affect me. Because like, if I see any hint of that in any of these headlines I see and, stuff like that. I mean, obviously the inflation that's actively going on right now is something that actively concerns me. Right. But just all of like the stupid, just the stupid shit that's actually not tangibly in front of me that the news cycle is constantly trying to convince me to care more about. And oh my God, if I actually don't care about it, that's actually a sign of spiritual rot from my privileged social position. And
yes, thank you. Yes,
it's I mean, honestly, that's like a psycho girlfriend tactic, you know?
It is.
Like you're just.
Because I've employed it.
You queen.
We have a source here. We have citations right here.
That's how you can't fool me, you know?
Instead of like a psychotic girlfriend that like wants you to pay attention to them, it's somebody in a dying industry who literally like financially needs you to pay attention to them, and so they're just doing this to get you to do it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it becomes really you have them lie to you to get your attention enough times, and it's like, all right, I kind of get it. At this point, it's on me if I'm going to fall for this shit again. And so, you know, maybe when it comes to, you know, this detainment stuff like we were talking about earlier, you know, maybe this is the situation. This is the time where I'll be wrong, right? And it'll be a really bad time for me to be wrong about something, but probably not, you know, because this is just BPD industry trying to get your attention.
Well, they want you to pay attention to all of the things that don't matter at all in your life. And then everything that actually does matter, like inflation, or like if they come up with a digital database and you're not vaxxed, like that's going to be a problem for you. If they start detaining people, that's going to be a problem for you. And they just want to distract you from that. So they're like, hey, look at all these New York Omicron cases. This is really important. Or they're like, you know, focusing on the environment. This is really important. And none of that stuff actually matters, but that's what's hitting the news cycle and is always talked about, so that you're not really paying attention to the things that are going to really affect you on a personal basis.
Beyond the news too, like your social media, like they'll make sure that you're seeing all the most batshit takes about that in support of it too. So you can be like, fuck, this is what everyone thinks. I guess I'm crazy. Or you can get kind of like doomer pilled on it and be like, oh yeah, I guess everyone thinks this. God damn, this is horrible. When ultimately maybe some people, maybe there's a larger amount of people who don't actually believe all this different stuff, who aren't, maybe the big other isn't actually as big as they want you to make it out, as they want to make it out to be.
I mean, are you saying there's like a silent majority out there that doesn't believe all this stuff? Because I don't see that
I
here
don't think
in the
it's
city.
A silent majority at all, but I think that they definitely amplify the amount of people that do, or the kind of impression or the size of the amount of people that do believe it, based upon, you know, doing different algorithmic shit on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. And then that also bleeds into the news and stuff too, obviously.
I think the situation is it's not that there's as many people that are just totally whacked out about COVID as they want you to think there are. But I think the thing that is discouraging to me and is very concerning to me about the COVID stuff is that, you know, basically like the biggest resistance you get from normies is just a kind of like jerk off motion like hairs. You know, like that's kind of the furthest on COVID trutherism that I can really expect from most normies that I've ever encountered. And like that's like just complete apathy. Yeah, they're kind of like onto everybody's bullshit. And it's like, whatever, COVID's a joke. But like, yeah, I think the furthest extreme position you can have is just be like, whatever, this is just stupid.
Complacency.
I think that's regional for sure.
Well, yeah,
that's one thing. Is like, even like, one thing I've noticed is like in different places, like I went to New Jersey over the summer to go to a show, and I totally like K-holed myself before second set and had to leave. Regardless, like people, I like, or when I visited Colorado, there were like people like talking about like Colorado vaccine. When I was in Colorado, vaccine hadn't come out yet, but I remember like being in restaurants and stuff and just like having a great time eavesdropping, listening to all these people in Denver, right? Like talking about how they can't wait for the vaccine, or are they
it's like going to a zoo or something.
Yeah, but then like,
did you notice a difference when you were here in Atlanta?
Not so much, because I was just like on a bunch of psychedelics the entire time, right? Like in between like the hotel and fish shows. So, but like, it's here. It's like a lot of my friends are vaccinated. There's a lot of people I know that are vaccinated, and a lot of people I know that are not. But no one really, not many people really. No, didn't sound like that. Sorry, I'm drinking some wine. I'm feeling a little momish. Bust out some Chardonnay. But like, people don't really care. Like, if they don't really give a shit one way or another, I think, you know, there's that kind of I don't know. I like that energy, like the politics down here. Like, people shit on Alabama all the time, but like, I would not. I love living here for a reason, you know. Like, there's like a very lackadaisical attitude. Yeah, especially like down here on the coast. Like, it's like a really solid mix of people. Like, so, you know, like, people learn how to coexist better, I think, in a place like this, which is nice. It's not so like polarized one way or the other.
That's why you got to get out of the cities, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the vibe of like, I've only visited New York one time and I was terrified the entire time. People didn't hold doors. Everyone was like walking way too fast.
You had a Blasian come up to you and make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, what the hell is that guy's problem?
You're like walking down the street trying to make eye contact and say hello to strangers, but they're just furiously looking at the ground and like looking at you like you're crazy for even seeing them.
No, that's a real thing. Because like some girl I dated from like the South or whatever was like up here and was just like, yo, what the fuck is everybody's problem? Like, why is everybody dick? Like, nobody says excuse me. I'll just be like, you know, weaving through people. I don't say excuse me. I don't talk to anybody I don't need to talk to. You know, if someone like says hi to me or like makes eye contact, it's just very alien. That's just how it is here. Like, that's not, you know, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's just like, you know, well, I'm antisocial, so that works for me. But like in general, like that's how it is here. But like,
it's just crazy to me.
And some people say hi and shit. I'm like, yo, what the? I'm like, yo, you trying to fight me or something?
Like, what's this guy's problem? You trying to step to me, bro?
Like, people here,
it also just makes sense because if you're surrounded by like hundreds and hundreds of people every day, like
keep your head on a swivel.
Well, I think it's also a northern southerner divide, because here people at least say like, pardon me, excuse me. They open doors for each other. They hold the door. They smile at each other. They ask how you're doing, you know, and it might just be pleasantries, but it's at least polite. And every time I've been up north, even if it's not in a big city, people don't do that.
Yep.
And they don't bless you when you sneeze, and it pisses me off. I mean,
you're like, I could be spitting demons out right now.
Right? Oh my God. I think it's the rudest thing you can do is not bless someone when someone sneezes in front of you. There's nothing that pisses me off more than me sneezing and the three people around me just not saying anything. I will
no one acknowledges
I will walk away.
You're like,
I will
come on,
block
guys.
all of your numbers. No, it pisses me off. It's rude. I hate it. And maybe it's like there's like so many worse things that I could completely just like look past, but not saying bless you. Oh
yeah, there's something dead about people in the north. No offense, you guys.
No,
but
it's all good.
it's
I
like,
don't say bless you. I don't say bless you at all. I never do that.
I encounter it all the time, and it pisses me off. And I also do it all the time, so I can't even really bitch too much about it.
CRK doesn't believe in blessings, so that's not surprising.
You know, when people sneeze, I lecture them. I give an atheist lecture.
You know there's never demons in you in the first place. I don't need to say bless you.
You know, okay, all right. To give myself credit, I always say bless you to people. I always.
There we go, Slav.
Of course, I'll say it. If it's just me and like one person in a room, and then we're right next to each other, you feel that tension in the air of like, they look at you. They're like, yo, you gonna say it? I'm like, all right, I'll say it. You fucking.
I don't even care. You're with two people. You're at a fucking Springsteen concert with 10,000. You got to say bless you to every person within a mile of you.
Within a mile radius.
Within a mile fucking radius, or you'll go to hell.
Yeah, you walk into the dish room at a place that has some spicy sauces, and everyone starts sneezing. You gotta bless everyone nonstop.
Do people ever say up there like "Have a blessed day"? Is that a thing?
Fuck no, dude. People
really?
3 heads.
We have that on like takeout bags at like 3/4 of the restaurants around here.
You will get weird looks if you say that shit here, for sure, 100%.
I mean, people have said it to me up here. Of course, I've had it said to me in my life, but like, nah, dude. I mean, like, people really fucking hate religion.
Yeah, in other places.
Well, there's a contemptuousness to Christianity down here. Like people consistently at my work make fun of Jesus or God or Christianity in general.
Well, we'll have the last laugh when they're in fucking hell.
Well, but I wonder if they would be making the same points or making fun of like Islam or Muhammad. Judaism. Yeah, they're making
fun of. No, their equivalent would be making fun of black girl magic. You have a fucking panic attack.
So last night I was had a work door, and I work at a bar that's on like the main like street in downtown. And like on Saturday nights, these like street preachers will come out and they'll stand kind of like across the street and yell and stuff. And they're not being mean or, whatever, but they're just run of the mill street preachers, like got the long ass sideburns and everything. But last night, this drunk girl came in and she was like, what's their deal? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I'm going to flash them and then go yell at them or something. I'm like, why would you do that? Cool. Like, I don't understand the point of like doing that. You know what I mean? Like, you're down here drinking, like you're doing your own thing. They're down here because they're doing their whole thing and they think they're helping. Like, why would you? I just felt like it was so disrespectful,
It's disrespectful. Also, though, like as far as just like behavior goes, when you're like out drinking or something, that is like shit that exclusively women do. It's like absolutely. I'm just like being out and just being like, hey, this crazy person on the side of the road, that yelling at them is a good idea. And it's like, no, nothing good is going to come of that equation. Like there is nothing well considered about that at all.
Well, because they know they're not going to get punched in the face.
Exactly.
Oh, shit. There we go. Now we're getting into some deep shit. Some real shit.
Like we're exactly. You're
like
finishing my sentences.
Yeah, we can do a lot of things that men can't do because there's not any risk of physical violence, which absolutely I enjoy.
The only reason I have ever thrown a punch in a bar was because it was at men, like again, like to men, and I knew like if they, I use it to my advantage, right? But like the second time the guy like swang back.
Oh
shit! And, like, yeah,
that's the Alabama shit, bro.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't need to be punched in the face though. Like a lot of women, they could be punched in the face, and maybe they'd have an attitude adjustment.
Maybe it's set them right. Teach them a lesson.
Just one time, one good time.
Like I think that's a problem with a lot of people is like they've never actually been punched in the face. Sure. So
yeah.
They just talk shit. Yeah.
There's something to that. There's some humbling factor that comes in from just getting checked.
I mean, also like a big component of the like getting punched in the face too. It's like a lady getting clocked, right? Is just like it is easy to forget just the humongous physical differences.
There's a reason why that shit don't be happening.
No, it's exactly, dude.
Not
like
socially okay.
Yeah, like I don't know, like. If the rest of you guys or listeners or whatever have like been in a situation where just like a chick does just get clocked by a dude, but like, dude, oh my God, they just immediately crumple like a shot deer, like falling in on itself. Like nice. It's wild, dude. Like in a way that like, like a fight breaks out between two guys and it's just never that to that degree.
Well, this is why I advocate that women need to have firearms. Government instituted firearms in training for all women.
Wait. So you want men to punch women and you want women to have guns. So you just want us to kill each other. That's what you want.
It's the sex wars.
Let's up the stakes.
Well, so there is such a, if you're looking at violence statistics or sexual assault statistics, there is a big difference in the physicality between a man and a woman, and guns are the great equalizer. So if women have guns,
it's more than an equalizer.
Well, men aren't going to be hitting women in the face if they know they're armed.
Yeah,
but I thought you said we need to hit them in the face.
Yeah, well, sometimes, but
that's
more a joke.
And some men need to get shot. So
very true. Very, very true.
In Minecraft.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
In Minecraft.
I mean, I ascribe to the Sean Connery pill. What did he say? Like
they want to get the last. They always want to get the last word. CRK.
And sometimes you give them the last word. Sometimes that's not enough. And he said, not a closed hand, but an open hand slap is okay. Which I think is like fairly like centrist take. You know what I mean? Punching a woman is kind of crazy, but open-hand I think that's a fairly
I'm gonna come out and just say I'm firmly against domestic violence. Just go ahead and make that.
I can hear COH getting uncomfortable.
I don't know about you guys. I don't want y'all to get too far off course here. I gotta rein it back in a little bit.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I ain't saying shit. The only thing I'm gonna say is those experiences where you do see a shit talking woman get punched in like a bar or something.
Satisfying as hell.
Oh my God. Yeah, and hey, no one cops it afterwards, but everyone laughs. Everyone laughs. Okay, so and they're fine. So it's, it's all above board.
They probably stay above board anyway.
Here on the Fed Post. Yeah, it's fine. This will be the thing that gets clipped and sent around on Twitter. And guess what? I won't be on to see it. So fucking suck my dick.
Well, the good thing is I'll be the only person that's anti-domestic violence, so I'll come out unscathed in that scenario.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll be like the best thing.
I'm going to be doing a long tweet about how we all have different opinions, and it's you can't. And it's the one.
We're
thing.
all so heartbroken to learn that one of those fucking texts.
Because he hit his wife doesn't mean he was a bad guy. You know,
this is finally going to be the episode that finally. This is going to finally break us into the Hotep market.
Holy shit! I hope so, bro. I might change my stance if that's an option. Like if we're going to actually start breaking into a new market or have the opportunity to, maybe I change my stance or at least soften it a little bit.
And man, work on that right hook and we'll talk.
Yeah. Well, I think someone was talking about who should pay on the first date, or were you talking about that, or
I've talked about that.
Oh yeah.
All right, what the fuck is this?
I'm firmly split the bill
on the first date.
Yeah, on the first date, on any subsequent dates.
I'd prefer to pay it for sure on the first date, and then we can feel it out and see where we're at if we want to going forward. Maybe once we've established I
agree with the sentiment that you're saying, COH. But I ultimately agree practicality with Lilith here, just because chivalry has no material basis anymore. And I mean that pretty literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so these gender roles and everything. I would prefer if we had a more traditionalist and chauvinistic society and culture. I would, but
reactionary pilled
and misogynistic. Yep.
Not necessarily, but yeah. But I
don't know about y'all, but my parents raised me right.
See, I just think that today in the days of promiscuity culture, where a lot of people are sleeping together on the first date, it's first off, if you're paying my bill and then expecting sex from me, which I'm firmly do not sleep with somebody on the first date, but if you're going to pay for my bill and expect that of me, it just first off, it cheapens me as a person. And, I don't want any sort of expectations of me tied to money,
For sure.
So personally, I don't think that it's a good choice to have somebody pay for your bill. And then even if they're paying for your bill and then you don't sleep with them till the third date, the sixth date, whatever. But it's some sort of situation where, I've taken you out on this many dates. Mm-hmm. I've paid for this, that, and the third. Now you sleep with me. And that sort of transactional relationship that comes with promiscuity culture today, it just is really gross to me.
I guess there's a power. I never even thought about nothing like that. For me, it's just I like taking care of people, and if I like you, I'm gonna try to take care of you.
Well, that's why I like paying the bill, because I like having that expectation built in. I like
the
having that over them.
That's your thing.
Because then otherwise, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to try to charm them. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. You can be a gentleman with your words in the way that you treat me. You don't have to be a gentleman with your pocketbook. And I don't understand why it's expected for men to pay for the first date. I'll pay for my friends sometimes,
Well, if I'm asking someone to go somewhere and I initiate it, then I'm willing to fit the bill for that because it was my idea, and that's where we're even if I ask a friend, hey, do you want to go out and do this thing? If they're yeah, but I don't have the money or whatever, I'll cover it, or I might just cover it off the bat because I wanted to go do that thing. And,
it's from an older economic relation where women weren't working and men were. I think that's what it is, and it kind of just lingered over to now, and it doesn't apply anymore.
Well, it doesn't apply.
I'll go one further on that, which is that like the implication set in that kind of expectation that Lilith is talking about, like, no, I literally think that's kind of the fucking point of doing it in the first place and why it was a fucking thing. And like, it just isn't how it works anymore. You know what I mean? It springs out of like pretty straightforward, material arrangement. And it just isn't the fucking case anymore. And yeah, I think it also like, it also is just like, I remember like, COH a second ago had, it said like, he hadn't considered that. And I think it is just one of these things where, well, yeah, I mean, like, it makes a little bit more sense probably for a woman to consider this, because like someone getting this huge all of this expectation built up, like you can have incredibly unsavory situations that spring up out of that. And so, in that way, like the culture is so clearly passed by this antique that like, yeah, it's nice for me to foot the bill because it is this like, the male provider. Right. But like, it just doesn't balance out all the other ways it's outmoded at this point.
Well, here's the other thing is like, not to go all men's right activists, but why should dating be more expensive for a man? Like it's cost prohibitive for men to go out and date nowadays. Like if you're a broke dude, or not a broke dude, but just not somebody who can afford to go, especially with inflation, afford to go eat out all of the time, and then you're going on dates with women who you're going on 1 date or 2 dates with, and then it doesn't work out. Like it is cost prohibitive to go date.
Yeah,
and I just don't think that's fair. Yeah,
100%.
That's true.
Or just not even if you're poor, like it is an expense. And I've had friends who are like, yeah, I'd like to be in a relationship, or I'd like to meet girls, but dating's just so expensive and I can't afford it.
Exactly, which is why there's so many like incels with the fucking shitty economy and all that. So
right. And I can pay for my own bills, and I do pay for my own bills, and I'm not really looking for a man to provide for me. That's not what I'm looking for in a relationship. So it doesn't really make sense to me why I would expect some man, especially most of the dates that I've been on in this last year, I've been on 1 date and then that was it. Like, why am I going to expect some dude who I'm never going to see again to pay for my dinner?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, shit, man. If it's an excuse for me to save like some money, and you know what, you may have turned me on that.
Well, there was
I
some
guess it's
girl
not that big of a deal for real. I guess it's just like individual circumstance. You just kind of feel it out. It's kind of how I see it.
There was some girl.
I'm just harping on it. Like this is just like the material analysis in this case is.
Yeah, dude. But the same thing for like marriage and shit. Would you say that's a relic that we've moved past that we don't need anymore? Because the same argument's used for that.
No, because there's more of a spiritual component to the institution of marriage.
Well, I also think when you're married, and a woman's having a child, and then she needs to take off maternity leave, and she needs to spend this time at home with the child, then it makes more sense for, in that situation, a man to be providing like monetary support. But if you don't have children involved, you're just like going on some dates. Why should it be more expensive for a man?
Yeah.
Well, I saw some
will say
girl.
that, like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, when I was like trying to like going on first dates and stuff, and like dating, like more like trying to like find someone, going on first dates and stuff. If I wasn't like really interested in the guy, I would like try to offer to like pay for like my beers or like whatever, you know what I mean?
I know, but then that's nice. So painful. Then you know what I mean? Like, but because then you get to the end of the. It's interesting how that like creates the counter response in the culture though too, right? Because I'm sure now that I'm thinking about it, it's like guys being really sensitive to it. Yeah, like oh fuck, dude, she let us split the bill, dude. Like fuck. I mean, I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. It's just that just occurred to me, and I had to say it.
I mean, yeah, but I never even like thought about it like the way Lilith said, as it being like a transactional thing. I never, I guess, consciously thought about it, right? But it's something that after she mentioned it, it's something that I like, that I do, right? Like if I'm not interested in someone, I will, and does that mean I like subconsciously think of sex as transactional? Like if I've been conditioned, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, like once like I'm in a committed relationship or whatever, like I feel like things end up being like split pretty evenly. And I think that's the way like Lola said, should be. I think unless, if you're like a mother or something like that, like out of work, Well,
I also know a lot of guys who are really concerned about women wanting them for their money and like gold diggers and stuff. And I know a lot of guys who are like, oh yeah, a woman why would I be in a relationship, or why would I get married? Because a woman is going to take half my money or just wants me for my monetary support rather than for who I am as a person. And that's a concern of a lot of dudes nowadays. So part of me, I just feel bad for them. And it's not something that I want to participate in. Not that it's not nice to have my dinner paid for, don't get me wrong. But
hey, shout out to you for that, for breaking these standards. That's good. Because
it's a very progressive woman.
Yeah.
Oh, my trad title is being stripped for me.
I mean, I'll say these. I mean, like it's a completely. I don't know the context of these guys, talking about this or whatever. But I mean, it's a very real and rational concern to have. And of course, yeah, I mean, your romantic partner is one of the most consequential, like, imperial decisions you ever make in your entire life. And yeah, I mean, like, again, kind of in a similar way to how we're talking about with the, like, footing the bill and all that as the man. It's kind of like this expectation of, like, a world that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, the way divorces shake out financially and everything for men is another huge example of it, dude. I mean, I know so many people who just, like, like the woman you fucking love and spend years of your life with, yada, 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 just financially destroys them. It's really fucked up.
And again, that 50-50 split is from, again, an older economic arrangement that's not applicable now. So we're in a weird transition phase. I mean, everyone knows this, but we're in a weird phase now where things are changing and no one really knows. I think even Peterson says that shit, right? Like, we need an updated script or whatever. He's right. I mean, like, we're in a weird... Nobody knows what to do right now because it's changing too fast. We usually need, like, a couple generations for, like, a change like this, but it's too fast.
It's like, it is changing fast, but, like, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, like, these dynamics have, like, it's not like a super new change, and I think it does just kind of come down to, like,
it kind of is within a century. That's pretty fast, relatively.
Well,
to, like,
okay, that's a
human history.
Yeah,
like the way society is arranged and all that. Like, it takes so long for shit to change. You know what I mean? Like,
what I was gonna say is just that, like, I mean, that's a fair point. What I was just gonna say is, I think another aspect of it is, though, also is, like, dude, if I was team woman, I would, like, not be in a huge rush to make it so that I, have a huge leg up in the legal system again if I ever, like, go through a messy divorce. Like, that wouldn't be high on my priorities.
Well, it is a big problem, though, because men are just getting raped in these divorces, and they're getting their children taken away from them, and they're getting their finances taken away from them, and they're just getting their lives totally ruined. So men are less likely to get married nowadays because they know the consequences of if it doesn't work out.
Yep.
Yeah. And that really needs to be changed, especially, like, in the legal system. It needs to be changed, or people are not going to be getting married because of the consequences of divorce. And then people are not going to be having children, which is a big deal. We talked about it with
Doomer, like, the divorce rate's like 50%. And, and yeah, it just breeds a lot of distrust, obviously.
It definitely is, like, one of those, like, very, like, black pilling moments or whatever. For example, one of my, like, friends recently, like, her husband, like, they're in an open marriage. They opened up their marriage, which, like, whatever. I'm not going to judge you, like, out loud. But, like, the other day I ran into her and she was upset and she was like, her husband cheated on her. And I was like, not to sound insensitive, but how does that work? Or isn't y'all's marriage open?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, how does that work?
But it was like it was like a communication thing. Like, he lied about, like, what he was doing or whatever.
How does he fuck that up? It's an open relationship. It's
right?
kind of crazy.
Well, at what point in time is it cheating if you don't tell them beforehand? Or, like,
what are they all have different rules. They all have different rules.
It's the fucking cope with the whole non-monogamy thing. Exactly. Is that you go, like, it's just about, like, these, like, it's about these, it becomes, like,
vibes.
No, like, just delicate, like, you need to communicate in this way, you need to be very clear and everything like that. And then it becomes, like, like, your husband goes and fucks somebody else and you freak out and you're like, oh no, I'm not, like, angry that you fucked somebody else. I'm angry that, like, you didn't send me an invoice about it ahead of time. And, like, obviously relationships. Obviously I'm actually just upset about these very logical and practical things and not, like, messy human emotions.
Right.
It's so deeply emotionally dishonest to themselves. It's like,
well, I saw this thing today where it was emotional. Women's Posting L's account posted this thing where this woman was like, I was all polyamory until this woman told my husband that he was her soulmate.
Yeah.
And what would you even do in that situation if another woman told your husband that they're soulmates? I mean, those are fighting words.
Bitch, no, he's not.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is why I have a gun.
Incredible.
Oh, what Lilith wanted to talk about was what defines trad, you know?
Oh yeah.
Which
yeah, we need to define it here and now.
It doesn't mean
I'm tired of being called trad.
It doesn't mean anything. Just like
right
it's the same thing. It's the same thing as like we were talking about earlier, and people are like, you know, oh, counterculture doesn't exist, but also this and this, and it's just like no one's ever going to agree on a static definition of it. They're just going to call random shit trad when they don't like it.
Right. It's trad as a way to humiliate you for wanting like normal, like basic human desires.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm trad because I want to have a relationship or because I want to have kids. That makes me trad. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's like a normal biological human desire.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
You know, or because I think that sex work is exploitative and I'm a swerf. Okay, that makes me trad. That doesn't make any sense. Like I have plenty of points of views that are modern, and I live in a modern society.
It's just trying to, like, you know, break things down further, use the rational brain to further categorize and put shit into information that can fit on spreadsheets or like be easily worked in statistics, or, you know, categories that the monkey brain can easily wrap itself around rather than dynamic individuals like we actually are. Also,
just like such a huge part of both of these like topics is just the whole concept of whether or not people are blank slates, you know, and like it's not like you touched upon like, you know, biological drives and people. I mean, that's a humongous disconnect for most civilized discourse anymore. It's just even pointing out the existence of something like that. And in my mind, that's the central issue with the sex work stuff too, is, you know, like there's something innate. There are things that have innate value or innate characteristics. And like, yeah, it doesn't like take a fucking brain scientist to fucking look around at like social outcomes and understand that like people pairing up, having these, you know, it's starting a family structure, things like that. Like it's not all just socially, you know, socially taught. There is something there, you know.
Well, it's like tied to transhumanism. It's like you know, we are not at all tied to our biology. We're not human animals when we are. And there, you know, most of your personality is set at birth. Most of your everything, most of your personality is instinct, and people don't want to acknowledge that. And disconnecting ourselves from our biology is creating like the whole trans problem. And
within liberalism. It's liberalism is what it ultimately the cause is, because it's taking to the logical end just the complete constant rejection of like group identity on the individual that isn't like consented to, right? Like everything is some kind of duress the individual is placed under if it's not something they can always opt into. And of course it gets to the point of just like, well, you know, I didn't sign off on being born a man or a woman. I didn't sign off on being X or Y. And yeah, I mean, it's just like it's a complete like rejection of biology, honestly, just from like the tenets of liberalism, as far as I can estimate.
Well, what does make sense to me is like, okay, you didn't sign off into being a man or a woman, but apparently you did sign off on being white or black, and that identified, like that is who your identity is. If we're talking about like critical race theory. So it's like, why are some of these aspects that you're just born into and you didn't choose important, and why are other parts of it not important?
I feel like the illiberal parts of like woke shit are kind of like the subtext you can read of just like this end of history liberalism, like the wheels falling off. I think that like that's what that is. But like also, to be fair, you know, none of these fucking libs at the same time really accept like genetic, like any kind of genetic or biological basis of race in most cases too. So like in a funny way, they also like they deny that reality, which like I'm not saying that it's like this humongous all-encompassing important thing in politics, but like, yeah, like there is genetic differences between men and women and different races, and it's all pretty much uniformly rejected by modern liberal dogma.
And that's, it's really funny. Science matters, except for like when it doesn't, you know? Because like anyone who like, I mean, it's just basic, like, right? Like the way we've evolved, right? People are going to evolve differently from like different regions, or like if they're male or female, because male and females always had like different like roles in society historically, like even, you know, we can be like equal, right? But we can be like different, and like that's okay. It's like it's okay to like not, you know, like the sports stuff, right? Like the trans sports stuff, like putting a male to female power lifter and like you know, in the women's category with like biological women, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's just sports, but like you are like completely denying like any science, and then like they come out with like these like studies or whatever that are, you know, say that there's really no like difference, like these women would have placed the same anyway, like regardless of whatever.
So, yeah.
And it's like, no, it's just not true. And people like eat it
up.
Like,
well, their hormone levels are basically the same. It's like, yeah, well, look at their fucking frame, dude.
Dude, go to a bar and watch a girl talk shit to a guy like we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, come on, it's fucking obvious, dude. This is a societal wide. It's like we were talking about earlier of like the girls.
Watch a woman get decked by a man.
No. It's like it's the whole thing we're talking about earlier of like yeah, like you know, these women will talk shit in bars because they're not worried about getting punched in the face, and so they get used to that and get complacent. This is like society wide the version of that. You know what I mean? Hilarious.
Well, it's just undeniable that we're both biologically and psychologically very different between the sexes.
Yes.
You know, and in the physical aspect, did you guys see that swimmer that just beat all other women in like some college swimming race by like a minute and a half and broke like all these world records? It's just ridiculous because, you know, you're progressing people's rights up to a certain point, and then you're taking away the rights. Like women don't have women's sports to themselves anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, women don't have their own spaces to themselves anymore.
The shit's so fucking funny to me, because it's like you'll see all whatever like stuff like that happens, right? You'll see all this stuff like praising that person, like, oh, this is amazing. But it's like, no, not really, dude. Like, it's a man like competing against a bunch of like chicks. Like, if he was any good, you know.
Yeah, he couldn't win in a man's race, so he transitioned. He took like a month of hormones and then started swimming with the women so he could win.
I do get a pretty good kick out of the fact that like the vanguard. I love that the vanguard of modern feminism now is just men. That I get a big kick out of that.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking that. I was like, it's so funny, like how much shit has changed. Like we were talking before about how the Muslim thing has just kind of died, or like Muslims were evil and now they're based. And now it's so weird. Like the right wing arguments are very like feminist. It's so weird. Like I don't know what happened in the last 10 years, but like I don't know, shit has changed.
The right is posturing themselves to basically be like the inheritors of liberalism.
Right. Well,
because there is like
actually, I don't know.
There is an anti, dude. Like the dissident right isn't going to fucking do anything. Well, I don't know for sure. I mean, there's more of a chance the dissident right does something that. Well, there is no dissident left. I'm losing the thread here. I'm just saying that. The streak of anti-egalitarianism that's present in like woke shit, it makes it, you know, an easy target for, you know, these kind of points to be won of, you know, well, the old great tradition of equality, you know, the American way, like, yeah, come on, like the new right wing is just going to be like Democrats' enemies, you know.
That's kind of crazy.
It is a little crazy, isn't it?
I'll tell you what.
The left is moving so far left, like the Overton window is shifting so far, so fast that, you know, the right is just moving along with it.
Yep.
There's not any like right bastion that's like holding on to the way things were even 10 years ago.
Well, I think that's because that's not really possible, because like when you're attempting to hold on to the way that things were, you're really attempting to hold on to the way that you're thinking of things that they were, and you're kind of trying to just hold on to an idea of how things were ultimately when you try to go back and do something like that. So ultimately, I feel like it's pretty much a losing task in the first place. Like people always say like, well, what are conservatives conserving, this and that and the other? Well, I think that it's a losing battle ultimately to try to do like try to be a project that's like, no, we want things to go back to this way or stay in this specific way. Things are going to be changing. I think that the real thing is like, how do we hold on to the things that you want to remain, and how do you change in accordance, and you make sure that you hold on to things of the past that are of value, strip away what isn't, and how to evolve with those things, and then evolve those things as well, because they'll have to change as we change in unison.
I mean, the only thing that American conservatism conserves is fucking liberalism and foreign aid to Israel. Like I don't think that like you can have any kind of like coherent traditionalism within liberalism. And I don't know, I'm not super well read on like right wing theory, so maybe I'm pointing out something like insanely obvious to someone to know. But like, yeah, I mean, just like they're just they always will and always kind of have just been like, they're just going to be the Democrats from 10 years ago, And
are you talking about like conservatives, like the Republican Party, or conservatives like as a political party, or are you talking about normal people who are considering themselves conservative?
Oh, I mean, all bets are off when it comes to like just like random, normie individuals, right? But yeah, I mean, like conservatism insofar as it's like an actually existing political party and movement. But at the same time, like, yeah, like there's like, right wingers here and there online that like, are reading, Julius Evola and, shit like that. But that's not really of any consequence ultimately.
I'm just thinking like, I'm trying to think like, because part of the left thought process is like victimization. Well, I'd say victimization is across the board, right and left. But like the left, obviously, like what Jeannie said, they have to frame themselves as like the underdog. But since it's mostly just cultural stuff, I'm trying to think, do any of them ever actually claim that we're moving rightward socially? I guess the argument that they would
time.
Right. I guess what they would claim is like, oh well, Trump got elected or whatever. But it's just hard for me to fathom that, because it's like, bro, like TV and movies and literally everything is getting woker, even if it's superficial or just that's how I view it or whatever. Like I don't know how you could make an argument that things are moving rightward socially. Maybe like people
are becoming more racist and more divisive.
Or they'll point to
like
the
people.
Texas abortion law or whatever. They point to various things that pop up all the time anyways that don't actually ever hold any real ground or water. And then they're like, oh, this is going to be all a nation before you know it.
Abortion shit pops up. It's like clockwork. It's like every 2 weeks. I feel like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't care anymore. I don't give a shit. I really just don't give a shit. I don't
either. I don't care anymore.
I mean, I care very strongly about it, but we don't have to talk about that.
No, I understand. Yeah.
We can
but it is
well,
it is like cyclical. No, please let's not. Yeah.
Anyway.
On a state level, it could be.
Yeah, I think that maybe to try to bridge the gap here a little bit, like I think if we're saying here that it's like, on the media's kind of abusive GF attention getting tactics to cue it up every so often to be like, Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. Oh my God. I can understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah,
Having said that, like the stuff in Texas is very much consequential, and like the legal discussion going on there is like, I think, something worth paying attention to.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just saying that's what they'll point to as a way of saying, oh, we're becoming more conservative, because Sierra K was asking if that's even something people say.
Yeah,
and that's a specific instance that I've seen people use.
I would say that I don't necessarily that is probably the best example for someone who's trying to make as a ridiculous a claim as that is. That would, like, the abortion stuff would probably be the best way for them to illustrate.
I think the real solution, or the real answer.
I don't know that the abortion stuff is actually evidence of anyone moving politically at all.
No.
If anything, I think that metropolitan liberals have just moved and isolated themselves culturally so much that they don't like really understand how huge swaths of people actually feel about abortion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think people are just becoming more polarized ultimately, and becoming more dug in on the things that they're repping as their side. And so I think that in certain areas, there's a push to become more conservative from certain people. And then it just depends on what the cultural climate is there. Like who has the power in those areas. ultimately.
Yeah, I think the culture war is getting worse, which is something I said when the show started that would happen when the economy got worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's like left is saying like, oh, we're moving socially rightward as like the victim thing, though. Like, okay, maybe you could make that argument for like regular people are moving rightward socially. Okay, I could see that argument. But like people with power or things that like have influence, like in the media or like world leaders or the elites or whatever, that all moves socially left, obviously, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even debatable.
Yeah,
it's not even debatable. So I don't know. It's something
people aren't
weird
worried
to me.
about. People aren't really worried about that. They'd rather worry about their individual neighbors, right, or individual bumfuck Kentuckians or whatever that might think, you know, something that's wrong think in comparison to what they think. And that's the real problem. It's not about, and that's what really the tide is. And it's not about, you know, where the money is going. It's not about the people who are actually shaping the discourse that we see.
I'll say though, I mean, like talking like if we're having a conversation about culture though, right, which is what the whole premise is. Right. Like I think the idea that genuinely people, the average person is moving. Oh my God, they're moving right wing. Like just the premise is fucking absurd. What obviously is happening is that like they are moving to the right at light speed relative to fucking just insane metropolitan leftists. Like no one is moving to the right. It's just that like thinking that the concept of human nature exists is now comparable to being a fascist. Like
the right isn't moving at all. The left is just moving so far that it makes it look like people are moving right when they're just staying.
I got you. Right. It's like relative.
Literally, the far right online seems to be moving left from like everything that I see. Like people point out like, oh, we're moving to the right in all these places, and like I don't see it. Even in the most obvious examples, like the thing that normies will just always say to me is like, oh yeah, but you know, like these Proud Boys, and it's like, dude, I don't even know how to begin to, you know, address these.
Well, I think so because like people I've known that were just straight like normie Democrat libs, like people I've known in the last 6 years since 2015. A lot more of them were just like, all of a sudden, one day I saw them, they were like, yeah, fuck all this shit. I'm like pro-Trump. I'm like hard right on all this stuff. And I was like, what, you? I'm like, I didn't expect that. I was like, you were just like just like a normie lib. Like you weren't even political. So I have seen that. So I kind of feel like, and I mean, you know, even me from the outside looking in would be like, you voted Trump? Like the people would be shocked by that if they knew that I did that, like, you know, a year ago. If I told someone that a year ago.
Was Trump like meaningfully like right wing culturally though?
No, he was like a 90s Democrat.
Exactly. Like he ran on like a Clinton ticket, basically. Like, I don't know, man.
He didn't run on a Clinton ticket. Come on.
A platform, basically. Yeah, absolutely. Like this is when I say that like conservatives are just basically going to be 90s liberals, I like mean it, man. Like it's not anything that wild, you know, like I mean, dude, you fucking voted for Trump. Are you moving to the right culturally? Well, maybe you actually are in some slight ways.
No, I think I'm a weirdo. I think my reasons for voting for Trump were very weird. I don't think it was normal. I think most people had different reasons for voting for Trump. I think people liked when he started the campaign, he said they're sending rapists from Mexico. We're going to get rid of the Muslims. He said that. That was part of the pitch. And like, that's why a lot of people voted for him. Right? Am I wrong about that? I mean, that's like a big
that's why a lot of people voted for him. I think that's part of like a greater trend and him just bucking the trend. And that's why people voted for him ultimately. And I don't think that him bucking the trend was ultimately even very like that he was more conservative. I mean, the dude was hanging out with Hollywood sickos and shit all the time. He's obviously not, a family values kind of guy.
I think that people just voted for him originally because they were so sick of the establishment, and he was not a politician. And he also was like running on, we're going to drain the swamp and we're going to get rid of all of these establishment politicians who have been politicians for forever. And that's why a lot of people voted for him the first time, including myself.
I'll also say, like, I don't even really honestly, like, I don't think that the Mexican rapist comment is even so much outright racism as it is just like modern, like, racial insensitivity. Yeah, we can have this kind of like consequentialist view of it of like, oh, but like it's haphazard and it's insensitive in a way that might stoke tensions and everything. But like, if you heard some random person just talking about like, having an issue with criminals coming over the fucking border and saying like, yeah, among them there's rapists and criminals. Like, that's not fundamentally a racist thing to say. And like, it's
not racist, but it's right wing, right? Isn't it? Like relatively.
Well, I feel like his main point wasn't even about the fact that they were sending rapists and criminals. It was just about the fact that we're having a flood of illegal immigrants coming in, which we are, and we still do.
And like we were literally talking about like fucking acid attacks earlier in this discussion. Like it's a completely reasonable argument to make. And yeah, this is kind of like when you ask like, yeah, isn't that kind of position fundamentally right wing? But it's like, honestly, man, like it comes down to the like it just has more to do with where the left is, because like no, like it's not really.
I don't think it's a right wing position. Bernie was saying this. Exactly. Bernie was talking about immigration.
Exactly, like being.
Well, he didn't say they were rapists, though. He didn't say that.
But that's the thing. And
it's like Trump said that one time, and it's like the sound bite that everybody's sticking on to still, like 8 years later.
But it was a fire line. It was a banger. I mean, that shit. It is
a banger. It is a banger. But like, I don't think like irreverence certainly isn't like a part of being right wing, and that's the only thing that he's like guilty of, because having
you could say it's maybe demagogue like, but that's not right.
Yeah, and as we know, fucking being a demagogue is fucking cool, so whatever. But like, yeah, man,
I think it's just like a nationalist point of view or a populist point of view to say, hey, we should shut down our borders so that we can focus on America first, right? Because I think his main thing was America first.
And even then, it's only like kind of like a nationalist. It's only populist because the effect on wages that unfettered immigration has.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a super crazy right wing position. It just isn't. Like, it's weird that it's been painted that way. Like the actual right wing way, the fundamentally like right wing way of talking about that issue would have been to be like, they are diluting our national identity, and like taking that.
So I was like, let me pull out my notebook of my notes. These are my talking points.
Like, this is shit that I've gotten from like right wingers being like, like you're not hard enough on this angle of it, and it's like fair enough, but. But like that would be the proper right wing position.
I guess I've talked about this with COH before too. Like what is a right wing view or whatever? I mean, I feel like from what I remember, like in the 2000s, like right wing social issues were like anti-gay marriage, you know what I mean? Like anti-abortion, anti-immigration. Like I don't know. I mean, has that changed? Like that's what it's supposed to be, right? Like I'm not making this shit up. Like that's what it is. Like, well that's the thing. It makes me ask, like, what is a right-wing social issue? Like, what is right-wing? That's kind of
the problem. You're looking at it in this left-right binary when the political spectrum is so much more complicated than. Left and right.
Yeah,
I think you can look at the left and right economically, and then you look at the social issues. And if you think about like the political compass, it's like authoritarian versus anti-authoritarianism. And, it's not a left-right binary. If you are talking about social issues, there's not a left-right. It would be more like the up-down on the political compass, right?
On social things?
On social issues, yeah.
I think
socially, it would be like authoritarianism would be you can't do it on a left-right. There's not a left-right when it comes to social issues. Left-right is supposed to traditionally be about economics.
Is it? Okay, well, see, this I think
it can and it can't.
This is going to be like an endless. Well, maybe we should like change this something, because like this is going to be an endless conversation, because it's all relative. Like I always thought of it as social, purely social. So I mean, you're saying it's economic. I mean, like this is all what is it? It's like semantics. Like we might be talking about
my position on it is just always going to be that, like, again, like you're not going to have a coherent like right v left divide in the US, and this is something that the leftards online struggle with when it comes to like them and the libs too. It is, you can see this all over, is that like this is we're talking about a left right divide within the confines of liberalism, and
right
and that's the huge thing. That is the huge fucking thing. You can have very distinct schools of thought and everything. Like communism and fascism are very distinct in a lot of ways, right? But these are political theories that can't even be even slightly entertained in within the confines of liberalism.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's I don't know. I think I need to think more about this, because it's a very Yeah, I think everybody's, if you ask somebody what right or left means, you're going to get a billion different answers. I think that's for sure. You're going to get a billion different answers.
I generally come down on just like in a really overly simplified way. I think that egalitarianism versus anti-egalitarianism, or at least a rejection of egalitarianism, is a pretty good way of differentiating the two in a lot of situations.
See, I think it's really authoritarianism versus anti-authoritarianism. And that's why a lot of the people who are on the left, quote, left, are not on the left in regards to social issues. Like you could say the anti-fascists are the fascists, right? They're the authoritarians that, want to tell people what to do. And that's actually more of a right-wing, quote unquote, right-wing stance to be authoritarianism or authoritarians,
Well, but banning porn is authoritarian, isn't it? Banning porn.
I didn't say I didn't say it was one way or the other.
Oh, for you, right. And see, for me,
but it's also like that's where the horseshoe theory comes in. Yeah.
No, again, this is the transition thing where like
You're
some of these. I think
this horse is wearing shoes. I'm so sorry. I'm sad to have a bottle of wine.
You're smacked. Yeah. No, I feel like 10 or 20 years ago, defining right and left was very, very simple. I think right now, I literally just think like left is woke towards shit and right is racist shit, bigoted shit. I mean, that's really how I view it. I don't think it's any deeper.
I see you post stuff like that all the time, but it's not. You act like all right wingers are wignats who are racist, and that's like not the case.
All right wingers are
yeah.
All right wingers are wignats.
You're always talking about the rightoids and the wignats and like saying that their main point comes down to like race science, when I don't think that's the case.
The furthest right. I mean, Keith Woods, he checks me from the right. He checks that I'm not right enough or whatever. And I got to give it to him. He's right about that. I mean, I'm not as right wing as Keith Woods is. So.
Who's Keith Woods?
That's the thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But like, I think the bigger point is like the three of us, Lilith, me, and Slav, just gave three different definitions of what right and left is. Which is, I think, the bigger point is like we're in a weird phase now where it's not really. I don't think there's a consensus on this right now. There isn't. You know what I mean? You got to admit that. Like, there's no consensus on it right now. Everybody's feeling shit out. Everybody's like trying to, we're in a reorienting phase now of things are like
realignment.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the real split is. Right wing is people who. Oh, something just buzzed. Hold on. Never mind. I gotta go, guys.
That's a cliffhanger. That's a goddamn cliffhanger.
Sorry, my headphones were dying. Bye.
All right.
I was so ready for this.
Thanks for coming
analysis.
on, Hoops.
I'm just gonna put it all to rest, dude.
Now we'll never solve this problem.
Never. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
My precious angels. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Happy New Year's. Because this will come out around New Year's.
I'm sorry, I don't celebrate New Year's.
All right, that was part 1 of our episode. If you'd like to listen to part 2, you can find that at patreon.com/fedpost. Thanks for listening.